morning, everyone. Today we will witness a constructive and healthy debate on the causes of criminal behavior. Scientists could not so far determine the reasons for such a behavior. Our two debating teams will present their arguments, their findings, and their evidence, and refute the arguments of the opposing team. Let us start the debate and may the best argument win.
Much better.
Numerous studies and research papers have been conducted to determine the real or predominant causes behind criminal behavior. The debate among scientists and psychologists have been raging for the past 300 years. My team members and I are happy to contribute constructively to this body of knowledge and attempt to support the argument that criminal behavior is predominantly caused and influenced by a various antagonistic environment and conditions. We shall prove beyond any doubt that individuals with criminal behavior are the victims of their own circumstances. Thank you.
Even though many scientific and psychological studies concluded that environmental and social conditions are the main reason behind criminal behavior, our team of relentless researchers shall present facts that refute outdated claims and deem them as baseless, when it comes to causes of criminal behavior. As the human genome studies make big steps in analyzing the gene maps of humans, it becomes more vividly evident that genetics cannot be cast aside when it comes to determining the major cause of criminal behavior in individuals. My team members and I shall present to you and our opposing colleagues a convincing case and irrefutable evidence that the human biology has a bigger role in causing criminal behavior than first thought. Thank you.
10% of all American criminals had one of the following reasons when experiencing a bad childhood. Number 1, we have trauma. Number 2, we have low self-esteem. And number 3, we have bullying. Nelson Mandela, who was the president of South Africa and a freedom fighter, once said, when a man is denied the right to live the life he believes in, he has no choice but to become an outlaw. To prove that, 60% of all American criminals had a bad childhood experience.
In my opinion, these are not reasons someone would turn into crime. They're not convincing enough. For example, Oliver Twist had faced so many antagonists, and he was also not born in a safe environment, but he was still a good person.
Well said. Some could argue that at a young age, kids will not know how to react to their anger and sadness, and that's what causes them to turn to crime. But even though that most kids find it difficult to express their negative feelings in a constructive manner, only a few might channel their frustrations to bad directions.
As Roman explained in the introduction, we can see from the evidence that specific genes are responsible for criminal behavior. These genes are inherited in the parents and passed genetically to their children. The psychologist Adrienne Wing said, genetics, accidents of birth, or events in early childhood have left criminals' brains and bodies with measurable flaws, influencing them to committing assaults, murder, and other antisocial acts.
To support this point, 20% of whose biological fathers were criminals were found to have criminal convictions. 13.5% of those born of non-criminal fathers did. Adding to what my friend Fuad said, an example of this could be Noah Claypool. He turned out this way because of his drunken father who was sergeant in the army. I beg to differ. Some could argue that if they do inherit the gene, if put in the correct environment, they could turn out to be good people.
On the contrary, it is very difficult to change the way a person acts, especially if the change is in something genetic. A character from Oliver Twist named Fagin had a very long time to change his personality, but he still chose to do criminal stuff.
To support that argument, furthermore, studies show that adverse conditions while growing up include negative social environment, poverty, parental neglect, and peer pressure. All of these can cause criminal behavior. The Greek philosopher Aristotle said that poverty is the parent of revolution and crime.
FBI reports show
show that 60% of American criminals were either poor, under peer pressure, or lacked parental guidance.
Asamiah, I have to disagree that not all kids give in to peer pressure. Some are stronger than that. For example, what Zed said about Oliver living in a bad environment but still being a good person.
But in my opinion, at a young age, kids are vulnerable to peer pressure and are influenced by everyone around them. And with no parental or specialized guidance to help them choose the right from wrong, they can make the wrong choices, just like Dodger.
Let me present you to a lesson in human nature. Some people are naturally of evil nature, or in some cases, because of a mutation that is passed on to them from their parents. To again quote the well-known psychologist Adrian Rain, states that criminals have low heartbeat rate caused by their genes. When looking at the number of criminals in prisons, they generally correspond to 3% of any community.
My esteemed team members and I firmly believe that the conditions and circumstances of upbringing individuals greatly impact their negative or positive behavior. Our argument, supported by the evidence we displayed in this debate, provided beyond any doubt that environmental factors play the biggest roles in affecting an individual's antisocial or aggressive behavior towards a member of the community. My team has presented irrefutable evidence and a landslide argument that environmental conditions and social circumstances are largely causing unpleasant social behavior of individuals. We have presented respected and acknowledged peer-reviewed research studies that provide our standpoint. Thank you.
When we recap what we have presented in our argument in terms of evidence, reasons, and body of knowledge, we arrive at the conclusion that scientific studies and research papers are now considering that the human genome provides a map of genes responsible for aggressive behavior and antisocial behavior in individuals. These genes are inherited from one generation to the other. Our team strongly believes that the evidence presented during this debate constitutes an irrefutable argument that genetic factors play a predominant role in an individual's criminal or antisocial behavior than simply relying on environmental factors and conditions. Thank you.
5C, I would really like to thank you. You did an amazing job using your research and communication skills. Also, you were able to support your point of view with evidence, statistics, and numbers, facts as well. I'm so proud of you, and I think it's going to be a tie. It is a tie. Great job, everybody.